for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday will go on as planned because it is provided for in the Constitution. Azimio says no one has the power to suspend what the Constitution offers, referring to the warnings given by the government against the planned demos. The coalition also says the collection of signatures is still on despite the much anticipated Wednesday, Thursday and Friday demos. Let's listen in.
Protests will go on in line with Article 37 of our Constitution, which, as you all know, provides for freedom of peaceful assembly. Now, Kenya Kwanza claim that protesters are being paid. Now, for anyone to claim that those protesters who came out in hundreds and thousands in places like Emali, Busia, Kitale, Kilifi, Kakamega, Machakos, and Nairobi, among other places, were paid is to be extremely insincere. Across the world, responsible leaders and regimes admit failure of their policies and quit in the interest of the nation. Don't ask us for solutions. Quit and pave way for a regime that has solutions.
We have received intelligence that in fact senior police officers in the Kenyan Police Command have chosen to ignore the illegal directive that was given by CS Kindiki for police officers to shoot protesters. And that is the reason why the president convened a PG, because he knows the police will not do his dirty work. He has now told his own members of parliament to mobilize people in their constituencies to come and harm protesters.
United Nations has pronounced itself on the situation in the country, especially on the issue of police brutality and the killings that went on during the demonstration. I want to state very clearly that the earlier petition by Azimio to ICC is very active. And we want to encourage the United Nations and ICC to note the events of this week.
And still on matters Azimio planned demonstrations, the High Court on Monday declined to stop the scheduled 3-day-long Azimio demonstrations when it pushed the mention of the case to a date after the protest. In his ruling, High Court Judge Justice Lawrence Mugambi directed that the application and petition be filed in the next 3 days and responses within 10 days and set the hearing date for July 21st. The case was filed by a litigant, Martin Gitau, against Azimio leader Raila Odinga and former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Gitau sought court orders to compel Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta and Azimio La Umoja coalition to compensate individuals and the public for any losses arising from demonstrations. Martin Gitau also wants the court to declare that the two leaders and the ODM party bear responsibility for the loss and damage that occurred during the protest last week, including the lives lost, injuries suffered and property destroyed. Justin Mugambi court, however, declined to issue the orders and instead set the case for mention on September 20th. And Kitui East Member of Parliament Nimrod Mbai denied allegations that he assaulted a Kenya Power officer who had led a team to the MP's home to disconnect illegally connected power. Asserting his innocence, Mbai, who claims to be a pastor, stated that he had no knowledge of the incident in question and that the alleged video had been tampered with. About a week ago, the video footage of a man who is allegedly to be the Kitui East legislator, that is Nimrod Mbai, surfaced online where he appeared to assault a KPSC of engineer.
In the Monday 3rd July 2023 incident captured on camera, the agitated MP is seen involved in an altercation with a Kenya Power official who were in his residence at Enka City, Kitengela, on normal power connection checkup.
Na hii moto inaenda kwa familia yangu. Kama ilikuwa inakuja kwangu usingeongea, ningenyamaza kama mwanaume.
Things turned ugly after the officials notified the Member of Parliament that his power was illegally connected, prompting its disconnection. Mbai is seen in the video using abusive language and invoking President William Ruto's name, claiming he had given a directive that power that is illegally connected be metered instead of being disconnected.
The president said this. Sikiza. The president said, mtu akenya power, ukipata mtu ameunganisha stima, wekea yeye mita. Uhesabu uchukue pesa, si kumkata.
In the video, the man claimed to be the MP is seen grabbing the official by the shirt before hitting him and almost taking out what appears to be a gun from its holster.
Piga simu. Call, piga simu. Umetumwa na nani na kutoka?
The man continues to grab the official by the shirt, demanding that he makes a phone call to his bosses.
I think we should start it the other way around. Why are you here?
14 days later, expressing no remorse, Nimrod Mbai defended his actions, stating that he was innocent. Mbai, who claims to be a pastor, stated that he had no knowledge of the incident in question and claimed that the video footage had been tampered with.
What did I do? No, I never assaulted anyone. Yeah. Do I look like assaulting anybody? I'm a pastor. Yeah, a renowned pastor, actually.
The MP was speaking outside the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission offices after he was summoned by the Ethics Commission. EACC Chief Executive Officer Twalib Mbarak had condemned Mbai's behavior, calling on Kenyans to choose their leaders wisely.
So, the reason they invited me was to question about my ethics around what happened on that day. And I gave my statement. I've just given my statement, and I'm waiting to see what happens. Yeah, I'm out on cash bail, so that's it. Then EACC took over their beat on ethics. That's why I'm here. I'm waiting for another person who will take over from their beat, and I take it on.
As the jury in this case, be the judge, can you spot the difference?
Now taking a look onto something, or rather an issue that has been persistent for quite a while, and now President, or rather Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has been on the forefront of fighting the alcohol consumption. Remember yesterday, survey showed that 48.6% of Kenyans consume alcohol. Nearly half of the population, that is approximately 27 million Kenyans, consume alcohol. Well, alcohol is faithfully consumed in the country despite the high cost of living. A report by NACADA indicates that 1 in 8 Kenyans between the age of 15 and 65 consume alcohol, and about 3.2 million people, including 2.5 million men, consume alcohol. The latest report by NACADA reports, or rather indicate, that Western, Coast and Central are leading top 3 spots in the country with the 23.8%, 13.9% and 12.8% respectively in alcohol consumption. Raifan Shikuku reports.
Shinyalu in Kakamega is known for its preparation of high-quality chang'aa, which sells at about 150 shillings per litre. Though with as low as 10 shillings, one can get a bottle top shot. Busa, on the other hand, is slowly being abandoned because of the skyrocketing price of maize, which is the main constituent in its preparation. In Kisumu, chang'aa is called achwaka, but changli is also its name if it is in small amount, that is barely 30 milliliters, which is sold at about 20 shillings. The affordability may be the reason for alcohol's high consumption in the nation. Some consumers claim that the local illegal brew helps them to skip a meal or two because, according to them, the economy is too tough to be sober at meal times. According to National Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse (NACADA), Alcohol consumption among workers is also high at 23.8%. Thus, they highly exhibit alcohol use disorder, with 5.7% showing mild alcohol use disorder, 3% showing moderate alcohol use disorder, while 4.5% showing severe alcohol use disorder. Statistics point out that in Nairobi, Donholm highly sells chang'aa, Kayole Junction highly sells keg. At Hakati bus station, 60% of stalls sells wines and spirits. Mfangano sells hard drugs and alcohol. Mudhurwa sells chang'aa, bang, hard drugs and alcohol. While Easy Coach Stage, Mlolongo, Cabanas, Mwiki kwa Maina, Njiru and Eastern Bypass are notorious for alcohol.
Centro is leading in the portable spirits. And from our research, we've seen that the content of those spirits, the alcohol levels are very high and some are very poisonous. And so that's why when people take, then they are affected very badly. That's why Centro is a major concern.
Subsequently, statistics from the Kenya Demographic Health Survey are echoed by NACADA statistics that women consume more alcohol than men in Turkana, Kiambu and Murang'a County, whereby 38% women consume one drink compared to 25% of men who consume the same drink.
The problem of online sale of alcohol and drugs has complicated the matter. If a 10-year or 15-year-old sits in Uhuru Park and orders and it is delivered by a motorbike, how do you control that?
Statistics further reveal that men consume more as they get aged, but less as they get richer. On the other hand, alcohol is the second most substance which is known in the nation after tobacco, yet it's the most consumed substance.
Arrests of over 3,000 people. We have confiscated in excess of 2 million liters of illicit alcohol.
Many leaders have tried to solve the issue, but their efforts to curb alcohol consumption have not proved to be successful. For EBN TV, I'm Roifan Shikuku.
And the controversial Bishop Gilbert Juma Deya was acquitted of stealing 5 children. Milmani Senior Principal Magistrate Robinson Ondiekiro
Shinyalu in Kakamega
established a case against Deya. The court noted that the burden of proof against the accused was wanting as none of the evidence placed the accused where the subject were recovered. Deya was facing 5 counts of stealing children in 2017. Early in May this year, Deya told the court the state fabricated the theft of 5 children case against him without evidence. While defending himself from the allegation, the preacher, who was on August 4th, 2017, deported to Kenya from the UK to face child theft charges, denied all the 5 counts leveled against him by the state.
The prosecution made a lot of capital out of a number of circumstances in a bid to establish the accused was guilty. But that evidence does not satisfy the legal requirements of circumstantial evidence to warrant the conviction of the accused, and ultimately make a finding that the prosecution has not proved their case in all the counts beyond reasonable doubt, and they acquit the accused person in all the counts under Section 215 of the CPC, and set him free unless otherwise held back.
Acquitted on this kind of burden, a yoke on my shoulder, which has been putting me into a dilemma, not working, not making also the headway. It has been so sad that I've been labeled as a child stealer. Some people say I'm a child trafficker.
He has no scruples with anybody. In fact, from what he has shared with me, he has forgiven his perpetrators as a man of God, and he desires to move forward with his life.
And moving on, Chief Justice of Kenya, that is Martha Koome, has urged the Commission on Revenue Allocation to always strive to meet the needs of Kenyans in every corner of our country. Kome was speaking on Monday after presiding over the swearing-in of Mary Wanyonyi as the chairperson of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. The CJ said the CRA must endeavor to understand the unique needs and aspirations of each county and ensure they get their rightful share. Wanyonyi was vetted for the position on June 22nd, where she pledged to focus on enhancing the country's own revenue generation if she was considered for the job.
In making recommendation, shall seek to define and enhance the revenue sources of the national and county governments. Currently, revenue estimates are unrealistic and ambitious and are applied as balancing figures to support the budget. The failure to collect the revenue leads to pending bills at the end of the financial year, and this negatively impacts service delivery at the county level. County-owned source revenue, the OSR, can make a significant impact in improving the livelihoods and welfare of Kenyans. The game changer for the counties will be to automate revenue collection. Through automation, counties can collect beyond their potential. Under my leadership, the Commission will endeavor to guide on the use of an integrated county revenue management system. The economies of scale enjoyed by this system will significantly reduce the cost of revenue administration in counties and significantly increase the revenue collection across counties.
You are the steward of our nation's resources. You're going to provide a guiding hand that will ensure that every shilling is fairly and equitably distributed. This responsibility is critical in shaping the course of our nation, in supporting our counties to achieve their development potential, and ensuring the economic and social rights of all our Kenyans are met.
And members of county assemblies across the country have now called off their 3-month strike to pave way for the Senate to investigate their grievances. Through the Association of Members of County Assemblies, the MCAs have agreed to resume their plenaries in the Assembly, awaiting recommendations by the Senate. In May this year, the members of 35 county assemblies downed their tools to agitate for a review of their salaries from the current 86,000 Kenya shillings to the previous 165,000 Kenya shillings that was slashed by the SRC.
Tumeweza kutembelea ofisi kadhaa. Tumetembelea ofisi ya Deputy President, tumetembelea ofisi ya Anne Waiguru ambayo ni ya COG, na tumeongea na SRC. Na mwishowe Mungu akatusaidia tukaweza kwenda Senate committee ya devolution. SRC ilipewa mwezi moja. Kwa hivyo we are not calling off the strike. Kile tumefanya ni kwamba tumepatia Senate mwezi moja ili iweze kuwa ili tuambie progress. If at all there is no progress, definitely we go back to our strike. Kwa hivyo Tuesday all assemblies zitakutana tena ili ziweze kuendelea mambo ya budget, mambo ya planning na mambo ya oversight. Ndipo tunasema ya kwamba tulisema ya kwamba pesa za MCAs zirudishwe pahali zilikuwa. Hii mambo ya tukata mshahara, na umeona hii mambo ambayo tunakuja kuangalia ya oversight haiwezi fanyika mtu akiwa hana mileage, haiwezi fanyika kama una pesa za kutembea. Kwa hivyo ndipo tumesema ya kwamba SRC ambao huwa wanakaa kwa ofisi, sisi tumeonyesha vile mtu anatakana kufanya kazi, hawazikae kwa ofisi na kuweka mishahara ya watu. Na unaona yule mtu.
While we appreciate that all Kenyans have a right to picket, demonstrate and assemble, we always remember that our constitutions provide that such actions should be carried out peaceably and that participants should be unarmed. The sort of wild behavior by some sections of our people which we have witnessed recently, and that has resulted in loss of lives and destruction of properties, cannot be condoned. Equally disturbing is the unacceptable use of force by some sections of the law enforcement agencies in their bid to quell the unrest. As a result, Kenyans are in pain and they are afraid. Admittedly, cost of living is high. Majority of Kenyans can barely afford necessities, including food, medical services, fuel, and other needs. As a result, Kenyans are hungry and angry. We appeal for calmness and patience. After all, we are people of faith. In time, things will get better. As women of Kenya, we wish to bring to the attention of all Kenyans that as a constitutional democracy, Kenya is a country that's governed by the rule of law. Therefore, everybody is expected to play by these rules.
And now to Kisii County, a section of Kisii County leaders led by Kitutu Church North Member of Parliament Japheth Nyakundi have urged the area residents to shun away from calls against the anti-government demonstrations by the Azimio. The leaders claim that the only way to reduce the cost of living is by embracing farming.
Watu wetu wote mahali mpo hapa Kisii na Kenya nzima, haya maandamano ambayo yanaendelea hayatakuwa ya manufaa kwetu kama wananchi wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo sisi tunaomba ya kwamba haya maandamano tuyawache kwanza, tupatie serikali ambayo iko nafasi iweze kufanya yale matakwa ambayo wananchi wa Jamhuri ya Kenya wanataka. Tunajua gharama ya maisha imeenda juu, bei ya unga imeenda juu, bei ya kila kitu kimeenda juu, lakini tukiweka sufuria kwa kichwa, bei ya unga haitaenda chini. Mwezi wa 3 watu wa hapa Kisii walienda shambani wakapanda mahindi, na sasa nimeona mahindi imekuwa. Hao mwezi wa 3 walienda maandamano wakaweka sufuria na mahindi hakuna. Kwa hivyo mimi nawaomba sisi wote tuweze kupatiana nafasi kwa serikali na hata wabunge, hata mpaka MCA, nafasi yaweze kupanga kazi yake.
Well, we shall now be taking a look on today's dailies. What are some of the stories making headlines? Remember, this week, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is set to go to the streets come Wednesday. That is tomorrow, barely 24 hours from now. Until Friday, well, what kind of impact will this have on the country's economy and also stability? What is the future of Kenya? Well, now, taking a look on today's Daily Nation, the top page, enough is enough. Nobody knows for sure whether the country will hold together or break apart should the anti-government demonstrations planned for tomorrow or to Friday go ahead. More than 50 million Kenyans are at the mercy of 2 gentlemen, that is President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga. We shall be having a discussion around this and what is the future of Kenya as from tomorrow. Well, will Odinga and President William Ruto find a way to solve the ongoing unrest that the country has witnessed for a couple of weeks since the Sabasaba rally at Kamukunji grounds? What is the solution? And if this kind of chest thumping is witnessed today, moving onwards, the country's fate lies in these 2 men's hand. Azimio leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto have put their feet down on the planned protests. Kenyans will be watching if they, together with the country's top security chiefs, that is Kindiki, Haji and Kome, will let the nation slide into anarchy. Well, the 5 men now hold the decision on whether to peacefully hold these talks and find a solution. Then what is the future of Kenya? That is the question of the day. What is the future of Kenya if Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition will proceed with their planned demonstrations as affirmed yesterday by the members of parliament of Azimio. Well, and on to scandal, members of parliament begin probe into dubious deals at NHIF, and members of public have until Friday to submit their memoranda to parliament on questionable dealings at the National Health Insurance Fund. That is, the National Assembly has launched a public inquiry into the fraudulent payment of medical claims and irregular tendering processes at the insurer. Well, remember, NHIF previously was involved in this scandal, that is in May, and the CS, that is Susan Nakhumicha, had to now swing into action and make sure that those that have been put on the middle, or rather at the center of the NHIF scandal, are held accountable. Nakhumicha sued over promotion of junior doctors. A Nakuru doctor has filed a case at the High Court against Health CS Susan Nakhumicha, accusing her of promoting junior officials to senior management positions in the ministry. Well, this is an interesting one. Now, Susan Nakhumicha, the CS of Health, now has two issues that she will be handling with regards to making sure that those held accountable under the dubious deals at NHIF are held. And on matters agriculture, fresh hope for Kenyans tea pickers in compensation fight with Finlays. Remember, the over 2,000 workers secured a first win last week when a judge in Scotland allowed a petition for the case to proceed in the UK despite fierce oppositions by the multinational, which argued for the matter to be handled in Kenya. Now, the matter will be handled in UK, where the tea company, that is Finlays, is located, or rather the headquarters is. And that is just basically what today's Daily Nation has highlighted on their front page. And taking a look on today's Standard, pressure mounts on Uhuru over Azimio protests. Security chiefs have been tasked to investigate the ongoing demonstrations with allegations that the former president could be at the center of the resource mobilization. Remember, previously, the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was accused of funding, or rather being behind, the 40 million Azimio protest budget, which now the security chiefs have been tasked to investigate and find if the former president is culpable or is behind the finance mobilization that funds the Azimio protest. ODM Secretary, on the picture of the day, General Edwin Sifuna addresses the press in Nairobi yesterday, where he claimed there was a plan by the government to harm Azimio leaders during demonstrations. Remember, the Azimio brigades have been claiming that the government has trained a specific operation to target Azimio leaders and make sure, and also Azimio supporters during the demonstrations, and make sure that they reduce the pace that the opposition is taking. And now, still on the front page, quest for gold gathers steam. Kenya turns into a conduit of illegal South Sudan treasures. Foreigners rush to Marsabit for precious metal. Now, this is the gold issue that now has been highlighted on the Standard front page. And Shakahola death tolls breaches the 400 mark. That is on page 9. This Shakahola issue has now taken slightly more than 90 days with the government, that is the Interior Ministry led by Kithure Kindiki, on the forefront to make sure that all the bodies that were buried within the Shakahola forest are removed. And the main culprit, that is the pastor of the Good News International, Paul Mackenzie, is held accountable. Currently is still being held as investigations are ongoing. And today's Star calls for dialogue. Constitution guarantees peaceful and unarmed demonstrations. Headliners blocking Ruto and Raila truce. Pundits say lieutenants who fear losing relevance are taking extreme positions. That is well highlighted on page 4 and 5. Today we'll be discussing, is there a possibility that there are certain lieutenants within the two coalitions that are making sure that there are no truce between President Uhuru Kenyatta, that is President William Ruto rather, and Azimio leader Raila Odinga. Is it a strategy by lieutenants in the Kenya Kwanza coalition who want to make sure that this truce does not take place? There is no any kind of dialogue that will take place. It's just a peaceful transition to make sure that the opposition now goes calm and they avoid the kind of protest that has been witnessed. Well, this is also a subject of discussion. Is it a strategy by certain lieutenants in both coalitions to make sure that they star the differences that is being witnessed between Raila Odinga and William Ruto? And tourists stream into Masai Mara for wild-beast migration. Tourists wait at the Masai Mara Game Park along the Sand River, waiting to witness the migration of wild beasts that crosses to the Kenyan side from Tanzania. Well, this is quite an interesting one because now this has, you remember, tourism sector was highly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm happy Bishop Deya says after acquittal in trial over child theft. Remember in 2017, the bishop, right there highlighted, was accused and deported back to Kenya after he was accused of child theft. And over 4 cases of child theft was leveled against him. But yesterday, the court acquitted him of stealing 5 children. Now he is a free man, ready to go, or rather ready to proceed with his work of preaching as a bishop. Well, that marks the end of our newspaper review. We shall be right back with today's discussion, the state of the nation, as we try to understand some of the political strategies being used by the Kenya Kwanza government and also the opposition chief Raila Odinga to make sure that they are able to propagate their agendas, as the government is also making sure that the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is neutralized. Well, to what extent will tomorrow's demonstrations running out through Friday affect the country from the peaceful coexistence and also business-wise? If last week, Wednesday, it was approximated that Kenya lost roughly 3 billion from the demonstrations, how much will the country lose come tomorrow to Friday if the planned demonstrations and if the 2 chiefs don't find a way to have talks or reach an agreement with regards to the raised issues? Remember, initially, Azimio la Umoja was pushing the government to withdraw the Finance Act. Right now, they have shifted to the high cost of living. Are they moving with the wave? Well, we shall be right back. Don't go too far, but remember to get in touch with us through our socials at EBN TV and at SAMMY ADIKA.
Through the morning rush and the buzz. Find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy ADIKA.
Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV.
The word of the Lord today.
With great love and joy, I especially welcome you to worship with us at Redeemed Gospel Church Buruburu. This is a true family church, a true spiritual home. Redeemed Gospel Church Buruburu is home to exuberant prayers, deep and true worship. A house of prayer that will leave you feeling refreshed. Our first service starts at 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and our second service starts at 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Wednesdays, we have our midweek service from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and every Friday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. we have our night of glory. This is the church you have been looking for. This is the place for your spiritual growth and maturity. See you this Sunday and karibu sana.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe, watazamaji wa EBN. Kwa majina naitwa Pastor Julius Mutuko na nataka kukaribisha kwa kipindi ambacho tutakuwa tukisikiliza neno la Mungu kila siku ya Ijumaa na Jumamosi kuanzia saa 3:30 jioni hadi saa 4:30 kila siku kwa lisali moja, na hivyo tukiangazia true worship ama kuabudu halisi, ambapo tukiangalia Biblia kitabu cha Yohana 4:23-24, Yesu alipokuwa akiongea na mwanamke Msamaria alimwambia wakati unakuja ambapo watu watamwabudu Baba katika roho na kweli, kwa maana Baba ni roho ama Mungu ni roho, na yuwatafuta watu kama hao ili wakamwabudu. So John nami tukaweze kujua kuabudu halisi ni nini kwa siku hizo. Karibuni nyote in Jesus name. Asanteni.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
One would ask, who is God of the Bible? Where did the world come from? Is man basically good? What is the hope of man after this life? Is Jesus God? What does the Bible really say about Christianity? How did God come to exist? Is the Bible really the Word of God? This and many other questions on religion need answers. Join teachers of the Word and theologians every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on the program Bible Theology Show, where all your questions will be answered, only on EBN TV.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe, watazamaji wa EBN. Kwa majina naitwa Pastor Julius Mutuko, na nataka kukaribisha kwa kipindi ambacho tutakuwa tukisikiliza neno la Mungu kila siku ya Ijumaa na Jumamosi kuanzia saa 3:30 jioni hadi saa 4:30 kila siku kwa lisali moja, na hivyo tukiangazia true worship ama kuabudu halisi, ambapo tukiangalia Biblia kitabu cha Yohana 4:23-24, Yesu alipokuwa akiongea na mwanamke Msamaria alimwambia wakati unakuja ambapo watu watamwabudu Baba katika roho na kweli, kwa maana Baba ni roho ama Mungu ni roho, na yuwatafuta watu kama hao ili wakamwabudu. So Joe nami tukaweze kujua kuabudu halisi ni nini kwa siku hizo. Karibuni nyote in Jesus name. Asanteni.
Well, welcome back to the Morning Live with me, SAMMY ADIKA, right here at EBN TV. Engage with us through our socials at EBN TV and at SAMMY ADIKA. Remember that the country is currently at limbo, or rather in a limbo state, trying to guess what next in terms of the future of the country. Where are we headed as a nation? After the opposition has strongly insisted that they will still proceed to their planned demonstrations despite the numerous calls for them to end the demonstrations, are they willing to back down? Is also President William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza leaders also ready to back down with regards to the much anticipated talks that they should be having? Remember, Archbishop Anthony Muheria has come out to call and called on the two leaders to consider forging a way forward and also making sure that the country maintains its peaceful coexistence. If this kind of back and forth is being witnessed between the two leaders who have followers, what kind of a nation will Kenya turn to be? Do you think it's time for the two leaders to sit down, have candid conversations and decide on the way forward with regards to the country's future? Well, we do hope that they will have a way forward. I remember yesterday police chiefs held a crisis meeting over protest to discuss different ways of handling the protesters. The police have been accused before of using force, especially on Wednesday, but the government and also tried to explain that the police are trained. If they are pushed to an extent that they now have to defend their lives, then they have no choice. They are left with no choice. So as a protester, as a demonstrator, someone who is fighting for a certain cause, do you need force to achieve a change? Sometimes when you shout, peacefully walk, peacefully demonstrate. Maybe you might find a way to drive your point home. And top police commanders across the country on Monday held a series of crisis meetings to plan how to handle the anti-government protest and to be staged by the opposition for 3 days this week. The police, a similar meeting was held at DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road at Vigilance House. Deputy Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja addressed the commanders to discuss different issues. I understand that the police too have issues in terms of their welfare. They have to be also guarded enough, have enough equipments and safety gears to make sure that they are not injured in case the protests turn out to be chaotic. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki on Sunday, remember, while in Tharaka Nithi County, said the government had planned and had banned public rallies so long as they are not conducted within the law. This is quite an interesting issue that we do hope that the police too will be protected and will also have a say in terms of their safety. And we do hope that the protest will be peaceful. Remember, Azimio la Umoja, especially the Secretary General of ODM, Edwin Sifuna, has been on the forefront saying that if the police are there to watch and fail to engage the protesters, will the protests be peaceful or will it also turn out chaotic? And there are several issues that have also been not in question that much because remember, politics, they say it's a game of who gets what, when, and how. And if you want to get what, if you want to get something, you also have to find a way to get it. But when also matters time. And each and every person has time. You have to have a target. And on different issues that we were to discuss this morning with our guest, unfortunately, he is not around. Remember, issues to do with security, some of the strategies that are being put in place to make sure that the safety of Kenyans, their businesses, and also their welfare. Remember, our children will be going to school. Are they safe enough? What are some of the strategies that the government has employed or rather put in place to make sure that all these factors are not affected in any negative way? And also a very interesting issue now, apart from politics, school absenteeism, drug and alcohol abuse among adolescents remain high. Remember yesterday we had a story specifically, if we can now take it back, that 48.6% of Kenyans consume alcohol over their lifetime between the age of 15 to the age of 65. This is a worrying population. And now, survey shows 7 million adolescents missed classes for 3 months in 2019 and 2020. Boys are reported to abuse substance more than compared to girls in the report. Well, 348,000, that is the number of adolescents who abuse marijuana at time of survey. 1 million adolescents abuse alcohol at time of survey, that is between 2019 and 2020. Well, how much has the statistics changed? 75.1% Kenyans population below 35 years. Now you can imagine, if 75.1% is below 35 years, what is the future of the country in terms of substance and drug abuse? Well, if we are currently at 48.6%, do you think the Deputy President has enough muscle to bring down the numbers? Of course, every other person would agree that just like Michuki once did achieve that in the transport sector, streamlined the sector back then, employing the same measures and the same force will bring back the numbers down to a manageable level. Remember, it can't be 0%, but it can be managed. Well, these are numbers that are worrying right here at right now. And now taking a look on the Shakahola issue, Shakahola deaths past 400 mark as more bodies found. This is one of the worst incidents the country has witnessed over the years since independence. 400 deaths within a limited area, within a limited space. These are just bodies that have been found. They are victims, they are people who've been rescued. Detectives yesterday dug up to 12 bodies from an area presumed to be the cult's church. The death toll is expected to rise as detectives dig up more graves. Then the question is, CS Kithure Kindiki said the Shakahola massacre was a well-calculated murder, and now he suggested that Mackenzie, who is currently in police custody, pending investigations, might be charged with terrorism or genocide-related offenses. Well, is this too much, or is it enough for Paul Mackenzie? He might be charged with terrorism or genocide-related offenses. That is according to CS Kithure Kindiki, who's been on the forefront to make sure that this is well handled. The case is well handled. Initially, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga tried to access the area, but he was denied entry into the area. And now on matters education, DCI start probe into 837 million overseas study program. EACC sleuths have already recovered key documents from 3 signatories of the trust bank accounts implicated in the scandal. The documents will be crucial in the investigations. Remember, this has been an issue that has been affecting Uasin Gishu County, and now putting the governor, that is Jonathan B., and the current senator, who was the former governor of Uasin Gishu County, on loggerheads, with Governor B now pushing the issue to the former governor, that is Mandago, accusing him of having knowledge or the know-how of how the 837 million Kenya shillings got lost. We are waiting to see how this will unveil, with now the 2 leaders at loggerheads and disagreeing when it comes to the issue to do with 837 million Kenya shillings overseas study program. Just close to 1 billion Kenya shillings was lost, and no one wants to take responsibility. We do hope that EACC will find a way out, and the DCI will try question more and find the culprits, because 837 million at the expense of someone's future or a number of students' future is quite wanting. And I assume, or rather I understand, that it must be investigated and the affected ones should be compensated if they were also legible to that issue. And now taking a look onto finances, or rather issues to do with finances. The rising number of digital money lenders has been identified as one of the major challenges currently affecting, or rather facing, the Savings and Credit Corporation organizations, that is the SACCOs. This problem has worsened due to the harsh economic times, which have seen cases of loan defaults rise sharply due to stiff competition. According to the CIC Insurance CEO Patrick Nyaga, the sector is facing competition from different lenders, hence the need for innovation. He also challenged the SACCOs to seek new ways of survival, promising that CIC will continue supporting them.
I think one of the key challenges that is facing SACCOs and cooperatives, as usual, just like for any other business, is competition. Of course, you know that most SACCOs are lending to their customers, but we now also know that there are also many other institutions that are lending, not just SACCOs. Banks are there. We now have all these money lenders that are virtual. They are more accessible. You know, And therefore, there's really a lot of competition, you know, with the SACCOs. And therefore, the big question is, how can SACCOs, you know, look at that competition and be able to survive even with the competition? Yeah. Not doing well, then it means that the shilling getting to the customer's pocket is got many competing needs, and therefore there will definitely be some challenge. And one of the reasons probably then why we are here is to see how can SACCOs be able to manage that kind of a challenge by innovating better ways of lending and making sure that you know, customers really appreciate why they need to pay the loans.
As the economy recovers, we are seeing that go down, and basically look for other ways on how best we can be able to go around doing our businesses in a more sustainable way, to be able to put that risk to the minimum. Yeah.
Good to see IEC because they've been very supportive, irrespective of the very many challenges we've been facing as a SACCO. They've been there for us. That's why we've been able to continue learning as a SACCO and doing business, irrespective of the very many challenges.
Well, now that marks the end of the morning live right here at EBN TV. But taking a quick one just before leaving, Article 37, what the law says with regards to protests and picketing. Article 37 of the Constitution provides for freedom of peaceful assembly and states that every person has the right peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. This right can only be limited by law, and then only to the extent that the limitation is reasonable, justifiable in an open and democratic society. Under the Public Order Act, an assembly may be stopped or prevented when there is clear presence or imminent danger of a breach of the peace or public order. That is according to Article 37. There is a provision for freedom of peaceful assembly and state. But now, still, the Nation, today's Nation on page 7 has highlighted a very interesting point with regards to Azimio Coalition and the Kenya Kwanza talks. Azimio Coalition said to have mapped out an intense 2-month strategy for street demonstrations. That is 2-month strategy. Ruto Camp 6 deal with Azimio to end protest. Junet Mohammed, Professor Makau Mutua, and a top government official in the security sector reportedly leading the talks to find an amicable solution to the ongoing difference, or rather the unrest that Azimio la Umoja has now declared that they will be on the streets. And according to the Nation, they have mapped out a 2-month strategy for street demonstrations to make sure that they achieve their targets and also their plans with regards to some of the issues that they have been raising ever since they got into power. That is the Kenya Kwanza. Azimio la Umoja, barely 2 months after they started fighting and opposing the government. Well, to whose interest are the two parties working? And do you think, as a common mwananchi, as the voter, is there much on the table for you? Or the match they are fighting for is to their interest? Well, right, that marks the end of today's morning live. It is for you to decide. Do you think it is worth to fight for the interest of two people or two parties or two coalitions, that the match on the table is not yours? Or do you think the match on the table is yours? So it is you to decide the course you are fighting for and to what extent will it benefit you. But all in all, remember, peaceful coexistence drives every growth that a country needs. We will complain of the cost of living, but that we leave to the government to help us reduce the cost of living, in as much as the opposition is also trying to push the government to lower the cost of living. Well, we do hope that tomorrow's protest will be peaceful, If you will be taking part, peacefully take part. But if not, well, carry on with your daily duties. This has been the Morning Live with me, SAMMY ADIKA. Have yourselves a wonderful day ahead.